Hey folks, how's it going? Today I'm talking about the newest Pixar film, Soul. Came out on Disney Plus. We've never had that happen before. Then again, this year's been unusual to say the least, so I see Disney and Pixar going, well, we couldn't make Soul work in theaters. Let's just release it on our streaming service. Let's make the families who are at home for Christmas go, hey, there's the newest Pixar film up on Disney Plus. Let's watch that. So on the business side of it all, yeah, you're not going to make as much money as you would have in theaters, but you're making folks think about Disney Plus during Christmas. That's smart. And when you consider that Disney had a giant press release saying, hey, we're pushing Disney Plus. It's a big portion of our company. We're investing. Stay tuned. So to see them invest in that by saying, hey, Soul, it's for free on Plus. That's cool. So Soul, as I said on my Twitter, is like a more existential version of Inside Out, which makes sense. Pete Docter is the director, writer for Inside Out. He also directed and wrote for Soul. He also did Up and Monsters, Inc., so he's been doing the Pixar thing for a long while. And you can see that Pete is more of a deep thinker when it comes to the themes of his films. Life and death and moving on for Up, dealing with the emotions that make us happy, sad, fearful, so on and so forth with Inside Out. And then here it's about our very existence, about where are we before we even exist? Why do we even exist with our life? What's our purpose? And what's afterwards? Now, I do want to applaud the film for not getting religious. That was a tightrope they were walking. I can only imagine a lot of folks who watch this film are probably thinking, what about God? What about my deity that I worship? Whatever. This is more spiritual than religious. I appreciate that. I'm not sure how other folks who are deeply religious feel about this film. I'm not sure they can put it on the back burner and say, this is just an interpretation, deal with it. But for me, I enjoyed it. It also didn't get too muddied up with the what is the afterlife? It's like, it's just a giant white ball. It's pretty ambiguous. We don't know what it is. So, I'm sorry, synopsis. The film is about Joe. He is a musician, plays jazz, piano, teaches at a school. He is a man who once more in life has been fighting for a goal of being a professional musician on the stage at a jazz club. Has been turned down over and over and over, but music is his purpose in life, so he says, and he finally got his big break. Unfortunately for Joe, he died, and his soul goes into the afterlife, and through a bunch of hijinks, he escapes the great beyond, and he gets paired up with this pre-soul named 22. We learn that before existence, our souls exist. They are nebulous and trying to discover themselves. And once they meet a certain point of what they are excited about for life, they then proceed to go to Earth and live their life. 22 has never found purpose, doesn't want to live. She's like, what's the point of living? Just to be miserable, just to fail. I'd rather just be my pre-soul and stay up here. And Joe becomes the mentor for 22. And we see him basically looking through his old life, or his life, and his entire objective is just to get back to his body. 22 is just a technicality to allow him to mess around and get back to his corpse. I say corpse as his vessel. Along the way, we have a bunch of deep themes and commentary about existence, about why do we exist? What's the point? What is life? I do appreciate that there's a pre-life with these these deities. I say deities. These creatures called Jerrys and Terrys, which kind of run everything. Logistics, the pre-life of taking care of the souls before they go to Earth, post-life, going to the great beyond. I actually was surprised. I thought we would be spending a lot more time in the abstract realm of souls. And to be fair, the movie has a fair bit of that with the astral planes. They talk about souls finding their purpose through the hall of the great hall of trying stuff. There's a realm where souls who exist get so stuck in a pursuit that their confidence like disappears and they get consumed by a weight in their life, whether it's a job or it seems like it's a mental illness kind of comparison of like you get dragged so far down that even though you're alive, you're technically not living. That's kind of heavy. They have a part where they talk about how like you can get in the zone so much that your soul goes to the astral planes because you're just like in a meditative state, which they use that later on in the film. And then also there's a part in the film that really threw me for a loop was when there was a body swap where 22 goes into the body of Joe and Joe's soul goes into the body of a cat. And then we spend like the second act seeing 22 go through life in New York, try pizza, run down the street, meet other people. It's cathartic where Joe, because he's not him, he's a cat, commentating. He can only talk to 22. He can't talk to other folks because he just meows when that happens. But you see him kind of get an outside perspective of his life where he goes to a barber shop. He learns that he never talks to the barber, asking the barber about his own life, which is pretty fascinating. We see him talk to his mom through 22. Like it's a very therapeutic, cathartic moment for Joe going through his daily life, getting ready for his big break, only for him to discover that it's like, you got what you wanted, but now what? So to summarize everything for the story, it's very deep. We tackle some massive themes, some massive commentary on the purpose of living. What is life? Why are we here? Is it for what we perceive to be our purpose? Or is it just living itself? Just existing for the moment, going for a walk, feeling the breeze in your hair, feeling the ocean water, between your toes, having a good conversation and the bonds we make. And I think in that regard, New York was a perfect setting for that, where it won me over, where it's like, I'd never been to New York, but I think a lot of us are like, we're knowledgeable of New York and what it's about with the parks and the skyscrapers and the busy life and the subways. And that was neat. It was also really cool because I know that a lot of folks who saw the trailer for Soul thought it would be a Princess Tiana thing where we finally get a black character, but they're not in their bodies. And I thought that this film did a good job representing black culture. I say this as an outsider completely, so take that for what it's worth. But it's like the barber shop, the tailor shop, the urban city environment. I don't know. I thought like they did their homework. Pixar did its homework, and I like to think they did a good job. But again, outsider, so maybe I'm missing something here. That being said, it is cool and bold of Pixar to have main character being like a 40-year-old black guy. That's cool. I like that. I think that this is one of their most bold films they've ever made. Usually it's talking cars or bugs or toys. This one's talking about like very existential stuff about life and death, about purpose, things that I think a lot of kids aren't going to really click with. That's my biggest takeaway from this film. This movie had some bold strokes, but I don't know if kids are going to love it. Like 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, I don't know if they're going to jam on it the same way adults can. Because adults can relate to this where it's like, no, I've been there. I've felt that weight of life, of not finding my purpose or getting caught up in it, about reflecting on what is existence. And that's something that I think might be lost on kids. It's not that the movie's too good for them. I'm not saying kids can't watch it, but I think as an adult, from a certain perspective, you can get more from this film. So I applaud you, Pixar. This wasn't a Cars 3. This wasn't a merchandise push. This was a very thoughtful film talking about heavy topics, and I applaud that. So, and also, of course, visually outstanding. Pixar has attained this level of building assets for like the backgrounds, for like there's a part where this lady's playing a saxophone and the wear and tear on it, the glint, the lighting, it looked real. It looked real. I like the stylization of this movie where it's like, they're not typical human shapes, kind of caricatures that are embellished, but a good style. I enjoy it. Same thing with the souls and the nebulous realm that is the before life, the afterlife, the Jerrys and Terrys with their 2D like dimensions and how they're like little lines. Oh, that was really cool and creative. Brilliant. And great performances from Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey. Actually, okay, so my one criticism, I think 22 as a character, it's a bit grating. I wasn't in love with her. Where like Joy and Sadness and Inside Out, or Carl and Russell and Up, I love those characters, good teams. Here, I was like, Joe is great, but most of the other characters, I wasn't really vibing on too much. It's like 22 move things along. The astral plane projections with like the monks and the sign spinning guy, he was okay. Jerry's and Terry's, they were great. I like the barber guy, and Joe's mom's cool. But as far as like the rest of the cast and the characters go, they're just okay. 22, just okay. Joe carried this film though, which is, you know, it's probably for the best, for the main character to be the best part about this film and carry it. So overall, I recommend this movie. Beautiful visually, great story. It's not like God tier Pixar. I wish they would have gone full on, like, let's go here at the end. That's another complaint, is the ending felt a bit like they chickened out on what they really could have done. Where, again, spoilers, I think Joe should have died. I think he should have given his badge to 22 and say, I lived my life. I look back on it. It was a good life. And I see that now. Now go live your life. Versus, hey, let's let him get a second chance, which I'm not against. But at the same time, I can see Disney going like, hey, Pixar, this film's getting really dark. Like, don't forget, we got to make sure kids want to see this too. So again, maybe Pixar is like, we want to make an artsy, cool film about life and death. And Disney's like, yeah, but we gotta sell toys. the great eternal pursuit of merch versus art, right? Okay, I'm rambling. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I like the film, I recommend it. And again, this is just speaking of nebulous, my thoughts are a mess, but for better, for worse, that's why I thought of Soul. So check it out.